All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, David Frost, CEO of the Rainmaker University, the virtual training platform for real estate agents, and author of The Grit and the Grind, Surviving and Winning Bigger Real Estate. Today on the Frost Factor, we have special guest Brian Murphy. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but he is the CEO and founder of Leverage Virtual, which I'm excited to learn about and bring to all of you. So let's get started. All right, welcome, Brian. How you doing, man?
Hey, David. How's it going? Doing good.
Good, man. Long time no talk. Last time I seen you, I flew into where did I fly? I flew into New Jersey.
Yep.
But I was supposed to be going to Philadelphia.
Well, you came into Newark. Yeah, you flew into Newark instead of Philly, and we're in South Jersey, so we're pretty close to Philly, not too close to Newark.
Yeah, that was a great event you guys hosted out there on the panel and some training. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'll fly to New York, I'll catch an Uber wherever I'm going, and then Uber wasn't coming up. I'm like, why is Uber not coming up? Yeah, interesting, but it all worked out. We got it accomplished. We had a great time. So
yeah, it was a wonderful, great day. It was awesome.
It was. All right, Brian. So look, welcome. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you're running like couple businesses, and one is this virtual assistant business, which I know has done really well for you, and I know can help a lot of agents and or any business. So tell us a little bit about you. Kind of get us going with that.
All right, Dave. First, thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
excited to get on the show with you here. But yeah, so again, I'm Brian Murphy, as kind of Dave said. I am the founder and the CEO of Leverage Virtual, our virtual assistant placement company. That all came about because, I started, in the real estate. Well, I didn't start in the real estate business. I left my prior career. Mary, my wife, she was killing it in real estate. So I eventually left my career to join her as the director of operations for our real estate business. And when I joined her about, almost 5 years ago, one of the first things I knew right off the bat in order for us to scale the team the way we wanted to was we needed staff. We needed help. And, at the time we were like, all right, we can't afford to just hire all these people to do marketing for us and, bookkeeping, admin work, all this stuff. We had our one in-house assistant, Jen, who's still with us to this day, and she's still our only in-house staff. So at that time, that's when I started thinking about VAs. And, we got our first VA in 2020 and literally helped skyrocket our business. We added, I think by the end of 2020, we had, 3 VAs on our team by that time, just because we saw just how impactful they were to our business.
Yeah.
So we immediately went from like doing 18 to 20 million in volume to over 40 million, like right away, without adding any in-house staff. It was all VAs, just because of how much of our business we're able to kind of leverage off to them. Mm-hmm. And this way, all of us, both myself, my wife, our in-house admin, Jen, and then our agents, we were all able to focus on the most important things, the things that are going to generate revenue to the business. And we're able to successfully leverage everything else off. So when we started having a lot of success with virtual assistants, that's when I started thinking, I'm like, all right, I have a pretty good system with this. Like I have everything in place. Like I have, all the systems and processes to make working with VA successful. I was like, so I really think I could do this for other business owners. And that's, it was just one night I was up in the middle of the night and I just thought about it. I'm like, I got to do this. Like I had everything already planned out. Mary wakes up in the morning. I told her, she's like, I think it's amazing. I think you should go and do it. So like literally that day I went into the office, I got on Zoom with my VA staff, told them what I wanted to do. They loved the idea. And by the end of the day, we had our business registered. We had we had
Wow.
websites. This got it all running. Now, granted, that was day one. Then it was a lot of work. Just make sure we had all the training platforms in place and the systems, the processes, everything. For us to be able to take what we did and get that over to our clients. So the first 6 months or so were extremely slow because we were just building it up. And then over the past, like 2 years, it's just steadily just continued to grow, to the point now where, we have people reaching out. We don't even know where they're coming from. Just people are jumping on the calendar. We're actually just by a social media, like a Filipino like media company actually just rated us as one of the top VA companies in the Philippines.
Oh, wow.
So that was a pretty big honor. So we just got those. That was just last week. We saw that come out. And that was just based on the number of jobs that we've created in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So it speaks to, the success that we've had in the 2 years that we've really been operating.
Nice. So that brings up a question, I didn't have, but I mean, so where are your VAs located? So you have Philippines. Is that primarily where they're at?
Yeah, they're all Philippines.
Yeah. Okay.
And for a couple of reasons. One, it's obviously, they're cheap labor. You can find cheap labor in a whole bunch of different countries, but one, English is one of their primary languages. So they are going to be very familiar with the language. Now, obviously, you could have accents just like in this country here. People in New Jersey talk way different than people in Texas. There's going to be, you're going to have, you can have accents, but you're going to get the language barrier out of the way, meaning they understand the language. They know how to write it, speak it, So that's one of the primary reasons. Just it takes one of those obstacles out of the way. And now we could find ones that have no accents. If you want VAs who are going to be making phone calls, we could find we have VAs in our staff. You would have no idea they're in the Philippines. Then there's others. If they're back end, I don't care if they even, what their accent is.
Right.
So that's number one is, just that language barrier. And number two, just the Filipino culture in general. They are they're faith-based, family-based people. They are extremely dedicated. So one of the things I always preach, we have new clients coming on. I always preach the communication, build a relationship. If you're able to successfully build a relationship with your Filipino VA, they are going to stay with you forever. They're going to take ownership. They're going to take pride in their role, and they're going to want you to succeed. So that's two reasons we stay in the Philippines.
Man, you know what? Just by what you just said, that to me, that meant a lot right there. And I did not even think of it that way. But I mean, that was such a great 2 points you made there. Just the dedication and just that they're English, they speak English, and that's and they know how to write it and all that automatically. So I would not even have thought of that, so that's, so when you were thinking of this idea, so that day, Mary wakes up, you're like, hey, I got a good idea. This is what I'm thinking, blah, blah, and I know you, so I know how you're very detail oriented and path like so interesting that happened that way, and you just kind of went with it, and that's how it started, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. So now, how much from today has it changed from that day? Like your vision and how you did? Is it?
Obviously, our business, every business really. If you're gonna grow and you're gonna succeed, you have to continue to evolve. So we're constantly continuing to grow and build our business, but the vision has always been the same, and it's really twofold. So one, it is we want to help as many business owners possible leverage their time and maintain profitability, because that's obviously me as a director of ops for our real estate business. At the end of the day, numbers, awards, they mean nothing. It's profitability. Like, how much of your money are you actually keeping? Right. So, one part of the vision is that. The other part, and the one that I'm really passionate about, is, again, just trying to provide as many opportunities for Filipino workers as possible to kind of get a piece of that American dream, kind of let them work for American-based companies and really grow within roles. My VAs have all grown. I have one who started with me almost 4 years ago as a social media manager. She's now the CEO of my international team. So they really grow within our organization. So that's one of my big passions too, is really being able to provide that opportunity for as many people, in the Philippines as possible.
Nice. Yes, absolutely. That's great. 4 years and moved up the chain. Now you said is she, right?
Shaw.
Yeah.
So her name's Shaw, and she's an absolute rock star. So she oversees our entire, kind of VA force. I mean, she handles a lot of the training, the accountability stuff, the management. She just started as a social media manager doing our just sold posts and just listed posts, 4 years ago. And now she is where she is now.
That is awesome. That's a great story. So you've been established how long now? Is it 3 years, 4 years?
No, the business has been around we started 3 years ago. But really it's been 2 years. That first half, because it was kind of like June. So it's like 2.5 years. But the first 6 months was really just kind of building the business. I told you, I thought it was in the middle of the night that I came up with the concept. And so that first 6 months was really just kind of planning it and building it to make sure that we had the systems and processes in place. So once we had clients, we were there, we were going to provide so much value that they wouldn't think twice about, thinking they overpaid or whatever it may be. So we spent the first 6 months doing that. And then the past 2 years really hitting the ground running.
That's awesome. Now, tell everybody a little bit about, because most of the people who are going to watch this and follow us is going to be real estate for the most part. So tell everybody a little bit, what can a VA do, for a real estate agent? Somebody has obviously mentioned social media would be great. I mean, I know there's hundreds, but yeah.
So obviously, VAs, they could be used in so many different ways, and we've placed them in businesses across the board. I mean, literally from, dance studios, true mobile businesses, mortgage, financial, insurance, horse training. So literally, but again, our largest clientele base is real estate, because that's obviously the world that Mary and I have been in for quite some time. So with us, really, the number one hire we get is like an executive assistant type role, someone who could do a whole lot of different things and really be involved in a bunch of different aspects of your business, from managing your email, managing your calendar, your database, all those kind of behind the scene tasks. My executive assistant pretty much runs my entire life. She tells me when I have to be on Zooms, what meetings I have, who I got to respond to. So the executive assistant's a big one, because they could also help in the transaction coordination part of the business as well. When you look at a real estate transaction, you could have between 70 and 100 tasks inside of a transaction. 90% of those don't need to be handled by you. They could be handled by someone somewhere else, such as a VA. That's why, I have transaction coordinators that do like per transaction coordination type stuff that use VAs. So they're the ones, they'll charge the $350, $400 a transaction to manage your transaction, but majority of the tasks are being handled by a VA because the TC doesn't have to do it. So now they're able to bring on more clients because they're doing less of the tasks and everything else being handled by VAs.
That's
so
good.
A lot of your TC tasks. So outside of your executive assistant, the next top hire that we place is social media. People that'll help design your campaigns, design your posts, make sure all your social media accounts are consistent. And that's where we started, because Mary, like I used to joke with her all the time. When I joined her in real estate, she was selling 75 homes a year. But if you look at Facebook, you'd have no idea.
Right.
Like you'd see an agent selling 2 houses and you're thinking they crush Mary because they're on Facebook all the time posting stuff. So we knew social media was a massive opportunity for us. So that's why our first hire was someone to manage that. So then they immediately would take over, make sure your your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter. Make sure all your social media platforms are consistent. And then they design the whole, kind of your whole plan around it. Like, what are we posting? When are we posting it? How often are we posting? So social media is a huge one, because that's one you can get off your plate right away. And once the VA learns your brand, your marketing, your expectations, then it's plug and play. Then you're not involved at all. Like in the beginning, we would tell Shaw, all right, we want a just listed post for 123 Main Street. And here's a picture. We would get a picture from the MLS. We'd say, here's a picture of the house. There's the address. And then she would create the post, send it to us for approval. We'd look at it. We'd be like, all right, it's all good. Then she'd post it. But now once they have those templates down, you don't have to do it. Like now, I can't tell you the last time I told Shaw to do a just listed post, because now she has access to our transaction management software. So she sees like, oh, 123 Main Street was just listed. I'm going to create a post for it. Like,
right.
And then,
that's great. Yeah.
And then you never have to think about it ever again.
Yeah. So that was good. I mean, a lot of those, and like you said, I mean, there's hundreds, could be thousands. I don't I'm sure of roles and positions for a VA. And I don't think even me, like when I first moved to EXP, when we were both there, that's when I first started hearing about virtual assistants. I'm like, what? Oh, I don't want a virtual assistant. I never see them. How do I manage them? What can they really do? Like, no clue. And then I started learning through other people who had them or whatever. And God, I met an agent. Who was it? Who's the coach over there? The one coach, Kitchens.
Yeah, John Kitchens. Yep.
He said he's got like 20.
Yeah.
Like, what, 20? Yeah. And he was like, oh yeah, man, I got him to do basically everything that I need that I'm not good at or I don't want to do. I just hire them to do it. He's like, my scheduling, my admin, my video editing, my videographer, my social media posts, and he rattled off 15.
And because you'll see it, when you start using them and when you start to really understand how to manage them, that's the biggest thing that we run into, where people have issues, like people that hire us for a VA. And if they think it doesn't work out, the number one issue is always, all right, did you follow the steps, all the trainings I told you to do? Are you using these systems? Are you doing this? They're always like, well, no. Like, well, that's why. Like, you need to know how to manage them. Once you do, they become so effective and they take so much off your plate.
Yeah.
You're able to really, I know it's like cliche, you always hear it, real estate, double your business. But like we did, when we started using VAs, we legit doubled our business. And the reason is they give you that time back to just focus on the things that are going to bring revenue into your business. Yeah. So when you're able to get there, that's where it starts to snowball and it gets addicting, because I have a bunch of VAs too. And in the beginning, it started that way because we saw, what Shaw was capable of. Then it was like, all right, I need someone to help on the bookkeeping side. I need someone to handle my admin tasks. And it's like, all right, we'll make another hire. And, and you look at the cost and you could really hire, like 5 VAs for the cost of one in-house employee.
Right.
So as it starts to really snowball and starts to build, that's when it's like, all right, what else can I use one for? Like, where else in the business can I do this? Because as you get used to using and working with VAs, you start getting better at delegating tasks too. So then you can start really thinking about, all right, what else could I have them do?
Right. Exactly. Makes sense. Yeah. And I believe, in the beginning, especially in like real estate. So, you're trying to make as much money as you can. When you're first starting, you feel like you can't afford an assistant, and normally you can't of somebody in person. It's expensive, it can be. And then, all the things you do, it really slows you down. For me, I think I'm similar to Mary is I was a visionary, a lead producer, a rainmaker, kind of. I can find the clients, I can call them, I can talk to them, I can convert them, but everything else slowed me down. Once I did that, I was like, now I got to do a listing agreement. Now I got to do this. Yeah. And I got to put this in the MLS. And I got to do that. Right. So it's like, it slowed me down. So then I brought my wife on, and luckily I had, like you, Brian, like she got out of her career, joined me, and that helped me do what I was good at. And then she took that over. But I can see how this could be so beneficial to businesses out there, not just real estate, but any business. And
Yep.
man, that's awesome. And obviously at a good price. You're not going to be
Oh yeah.
broke doing it. And
No, you're looking at full-time employees who are going to be 40-hour employees for you for $4 or $5 an hour, maybe
right,
6, depending on what
right.
kind of experience level you're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. That is crazy. Okay, so let's get into. So you talked about the benefits there. Now, so you feel like the majority of those who complain or have issues with it, because that was a good point you brought up. I didn't even have that, but like they just don't. You have a training program or a training system for those who actually hire your company.
Yes. So one of the first things we do, we make them go through. So we have training galore for both our client and the VA. But the client, it's more abbreviated, because a lot of times when you're working with, top performers, business owners, whether it's real estate, any other kind of business, they're busy, right? They don't want to be bogged down with, just hours and hours and hours of training. So we kind of condensed it for the business owner, but really we just kind of go over the 5 or 6 really basic tools that you need to use and implement on day one with your VA. And if you follow these kind of tools and these systems that we're going to show you, it's going to skyrocket your success chance. Too many people just kind of they almost think they're going to hire a VA and it's almost like a computer program. They're just going to be over there doing their work and they don't need to hear from me. They're still people, right? They want a connection. So like we have Jen, our in-house employee. We don't walk by her every day and don't say anything. Like obviously we talk to her, we get to know her. Like
good point. Very good point.
It's no different than with a VA. There's still people, they still want to feel like they're a part of a team. And a lot of business owners miss that, right? Because they just think it's just someone who's just sitting at a computer that's going to get their work done and they don't have to worry about anything else. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, I'm not really that happy with my VA. Well, when was the last time you talked to them? Like,
right. Makes sense.
So yeah, as long as they just follow, like we'll map it out for them and we'll make it as simple as possible and say, you just do these things, it is going to work.
Yes. No, absolutely. That's good to know, that you do have a program for that. So that way it helps the people who hire you. So, okay. So talk to me a little bit about the, how long, so if today we hired you to place us with somebody who we want to do something, right? So that brings me another, let's start with that one. The first question is, how long will it take me to actually get placed with somebody who's going to be working with us?
Usually, depending on the position you're looking for, typically it's going to be about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Turnaround time. So that's going to, from the time that you sign the agreement with us, you pay our fee. About 2 weeks later, we'll have your final interview set up.
Wow. All right. So tell me about that. So how many interviews do you do? Do you do 1, 2, or
per client? You mean? So
yeah.
So how our process works from start to beginning. So we'll kind of go over we have like a simple 5-step program. We kind of dummied it down as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Step number 1 is obviously just get on a call with me first. You got to get on a strategy call. We'll talk about your business, talk about where VAs could potentially, help. And if it's the right fit, right? Not everyone's a good fit. Like I have turned people away because I don't think they're going to be able to work with a VA. They're just too all over the place. And it's just like, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to work. Kind of like you, if you're sitting at someone's kitchen table at a listing appointment and they're just all over the place and like this person's not motivated. Like I'm sitting here wasting my time. So there are times you're going to turn clients away, no different than us. So we're going to have that first strategy call. Next step from there, if you want to move on, that's when we'll send you the agreement. You sign the agreement. We'll send you the invoice. Next step is that's when our recruiting process starts. So we have a team in the Philippines who handles our recruiting because that's another big thing. A lot of people say, why can't I just hire my own VA? What do you know about the Philippines? About different parts of the Philippines, different areas, because certain areas, it's no different than this country here. Certain areas have better infrastructure than other areas. So one thing that we hear a lot is someone hires a VA and their internet's always out. They're always out of power. And that's because the Philippines they have some crazy weather out there. They get nasty storms.
Mhm.
So power outages are common. I'll tell you, I've never had a VA on my team of just the dozens and dozens of VAs I've had work for me. Never had one have a power outage for extended time.
Mhm.
Because again, we know where the parts of the country are that have the strongest infrastructure. So
Yeah.
that's why we have a team in the Philippines who handle that for us. So they start our recruiting process. They start going through all the applications, the vetting process. They'll go through all the background checks, check all the references. They'll do all that stuff. They'll narrow the list down to about the top 15 to 20. And then my team will do initial interviews. So they'll go through an initial interview process just to, again, talk to the VAs one-on-one, go through their experience, their history. Then they narrow it down even more from there. So then they'll get it down usually to the top 6 to 8 candidates. At that point, we'll have all those candidates fill out disc profile assessments. So you get an idea of, if they're even a personality match for the role you're hiring. We'll have them do a video introduction. So we'll send a spreadsheet to our client that's going to have a list of the candidates, a link to their resume, a link to their video introduction, a link to their disc profile. And then it's just going to have like a little summary. It's going to say what they're asking, hourly rate is. And then that way the clients get that beforehand. So they could, instead of just going in and saying, we have these 8 candidates, let's come in and I'll sit in a Zoom room for 3 hours to interview 8 people. Like that's torture. So we send them the spreadsheet ahead of time so they can narrow it down. They can say, all right, I really like numbers 1, 2, and 6. Let's interview them. So then we'll bring them into the final interview. So the final interview is going to be, my team. It's going to be our client. And then we just bring the candidates in one at a time. We'll go through the final interview. And then once the client, chooses, what VA they want, we obviously offer the position. And then that VA, the last part of the process is the onboarding and the training. So the VA will spend 1 full day with my team where they'll spend that 8-hour shift just with my team and training with them, going over learning systems, processes. They'll go into, role specific stuff. So if they're a social media manager, they're going to spend a lot of time with Shah and Ralph on my team. They'll do a lot of, social media based training. If they're more admin or bookkeeping, they'll work with Dal, who's my executive assistant and my bookkeeper. So depending on the role, they'll work with someone on my team that's specialized to go over that. And then we hand it off to the client. Then the follow, typically our training days are on a Friday. And then the following Monday, we hand them off to the client.
Oh, wow. Nice. Okay. Excellent, man. That sounds like a great process. I mean, it doesn't sound too difficult, overwhelming, but
we wanted to make it as easy as possible on our client. It's a lot of work on my team. My recruiting team does a whole lot of work in the background, but we want to make it as easy as possible on our client. And that's why we kind of streamlined it this way. And, we just want it as easy as possible on them.
Yeah. It seems like doesn't seem like an overwhelming process. However, it's a very detailed and laid out process to like, so it's great. So it sounds great. All right. So with the assistant, who do they report to? Who are they actually working for? Because I know a lot of people have asked me that before.
This is why, so we kind of work as a hybrid model. So a lot of times now the VA works for the business owner. So our client. So Dave, you're hiring a VA through me. Once we hand that VA off to you, they're your virtual assistant. They don't work for us. But the way we're kind of hybrid, because in the past you would see kind of 2 different ways of hiring virtual assistants. You could either go out on your own and find your own. So that way they work solely for you. The problem with that is, again, you're not familiar with it. It's your first time hiring a VA. You've never been to the Philippines. You don't know the area. You don't know how to train them. You don't know what systems to use. So that way I highly say stay away from that, because that's tough. Then the other way is you typically, a lot of VA companies, the VA is going to report to the VA company, and that VA company basically subcontracts them to you. So the issues there is you're going to pay a lot more. That VA may only be $4 an hour, but you're paying $8 an hour to the company.
Right.
They're keeping 4, they're giving 4 to the VA. The other problem with that is that VA technically reports to them, so you don't really have any control over them.
Mm-hmm.
With us, you get all the training and the support you would get from a company like that, but the VA is yours. So that they're your employee. We have no control over them. We can't tell you, hey, Dave, it's time to give your VA a raise. Or, hey, Dave, I'm sorry, but I know you love your VA, but I got to place it with a business owner over here. We'll get you someone else. We have no control over any of that because they are yours, but they're going to get our continued ongoing training. So we are constantly updating our training portal. My VA team does a weekly VA training for all VAs that we've placed that they have access to, that they could jump in. They're live calls. So they could come in with questions. They get access to our VA Slack channel to where they have access to not just me and my team, but every VA we've placed. So a lot of this very active where if VAs have questions, they don't have to go directly to you. They could go to this Slack channel and say, hey, who else is working with this particular system? Like, I got to do something. I'm not sure how to use it. They'll ask it in there. Other VAs will then come in, chime in, and work together and get it figured out. Okay. So they get access to all that stuff for, again, no fee. Like you don't pay for it. You just, as long as you work with that VA, they're going to have access to all that. Same with our clients. Clients don't utilize it as much, but they get access to our Slack channel as well. They also get access to our video training library that we update all the time as well. But typically business owners, once they have it up and running, like they're just kind of like, all right, I'm good.
Right. Interesting. Okay, good. Now, what about the time zone obstacles? How does that play into a VA? So can you explain that a little bit?
So that's that goes into our vetting process as well. So, one step, when I kind of went over the 5-step process, one of the first steps, if you want to use us, one of the first things we do is we're going to send you a VA needs assessment form. Now, we know a lot of it because we already had our strategy call, but the VA needs assessment form is going to kind of go over the key softwares they're going to be using, the systems, the key tasks they're doing, and then the time zone, like what hours do you want them working. So when we go through our vetting process, that's obviously part of what it is. We say, all right, right now, on East Coast time, my VAs all work 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Their time right now, that's 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. So depending on the time zone. So they were, because now that our time changed, they were 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Now, once our time changed this past weekend, now I think they're 9 to 6.
Okay.
But yeah, so they'll work whatever hours you need them to.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, good. Do you, I'm sure it probably varies, but I don't know if you want to go over a cost in a sense, or you just want to, because that's going to vary, right? I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah. So there is, there's different things that go into it. But primarily the big difference that we have over a lot of other companies is, again, we're just a one-time placement fee. So you're not going to continue to on-go. There's no monthly subscription. There's no, you pay us, we'll pay your VA, and we keep everything, that's left over. There's none of that. It's just you pay the one-time placement fee. You'll never pay us again. The only time you'll pay us again is if you want another VA.
Nice.
And obviously there's massive discounts for that. So, we have people that have gotten 2, 3, 4, 5 VAs through us. So there's a huge cost savings for each additional VA.
Yep. See, you got me. I was going to go ahead and ask that. I was going to say, so if somebody would get 3 VAs, is there a discount for that? So you're already ahead of the game. Good.
Oh, the other massive thing too, which is extremely important for people to know too, especially when they're hiring their first VA. We also, because they're like, all right, well, we have this one-time placement fee. What if it doesn't work out? So we do have a 90-day guaranteed replacement policy. So if the VA doesn't work out for whatever reason, we'll find the replacement free of charge. And we'll also help along that too. So my team stays very involved those first 90 days. One, we help our client develop the 30, 60, 90-day plan for whatever role they're doing. Because again, a lot of business owners, this may be one of their first hires. So they've never done a 30, 60, 90-day plan in their life. Most of them are like, what's that?
Right.
So, we'll do that map too. So we'll have it like, all right, the first 30 days, they should be doing this. First 60 days, they should be doing this. First 90 days, they should be doing this. Now, this way the client knows. So now if all of a sudden they're on day 45 and this VA can't do something that was supposed to be done in week 1, they know there might be a performance issue. So we'll help. And then my team stays involved as well, where they always reach out to the VA and our client just for check-ins, see how things are going. And then we'll do monthly performance reviews with the VA those first 3 months as well. Because again, we want to make sure that you know early on if there's going to be the right fit or not.
Yeah.
Because it's not always going to be. Whether you're hiring in-house or VAs, you're never going to make the right hire 100% of the time. So we want to make sure that you find out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And we'll go to people at times. We'll see stuff. They'll be like, hey, David, I just want to let you know, I don't think this person's cutting it. Like, I just don't think they're doing what they should be. And then a lot of times our clients are like, oh, well, I don't know. I really like so-and-so. That's great. But they're not doing what they're supposed to. And so we'll tell clients. And then a lot of times they'll sit there, they'll be like, no. And then eventually they'll come back to me and be like, you know what, Brian, I think you were right. I'm like, gee, you think? Like, I've done this a couple of times. Like,
Right. Well, that says a lot about you, though, in the business standpoint of, understanding, and I think it should go the opposite way too, is people that are hiring your company has to understand, just like you said, you had some great points of, if you have an assistant that is actually working day to day with you, you're going to say hi to them. You're going to communicate with them. You're going to meet with them. You're going to train them. You're going to be there for right. So a VA shouldn't be any different, except you may not physically be next to them. And then now you're talking about, in a sense of, hey, everybody who has a hire, because I know I've been there, even in person or right here, they're not always going to work. A lot of them don't work. So, so to get a virtual assistant, it's going to be no different, probably better actually, I think from my standpoint, because you're doing the vetting, you're doing the interview, you're doing, before I would even get involved. And then from there, I still then will have my little process of, okay, I don't like that one. I like this one. So it's better.
Yeah. And again, so a lot of the stuff, so we'll recommend a lot of people, especially, business owners like yourself, you manage several different businesses. So you have a lot of your systems and everything in place. So there's a lot of times where, like a client will be like, oh, well, I don't need Slack because I have, Microsoft Teams. Like, so that's great. As long as you have something we'll show you these. And these are just ones that we found they're simple. Most of them have free options, so it's not a cost to our client, and they work. Now, does that mean everyone has to use those? No. But again, as long we want you to have something. So we'll do a lot of training on task management systems. I don't care if you're using Asana, Monday.com, Trello. I don't really care what you're using, as long as you're using something and you can send tasks to your VA.
Yeah, got it. No, that makes sense. Perfect sense. All right, look, so how I have your website going down, as you can see it. That's the right, hopefully that's the right.
Yep.
You see it? Yeah. Hopefully that's the right website. Okay. So how else could they get a hold of you?
So really, they could email me at brian@leveragevirtual.com. They could just DM me on Facebook if they look for it. But honestly, the best way is probably just go to leveragevirtual.com and book a strategy call in there. Because odds are, I get people that reach out a lot through DMs and emails. And usually I just send them my calendar link anyway and say, here, jump on a slot. Because again, and it, when you're running multiple businesses, I am extremely reliant on my calendar. So I follow my calendar starts at 4:30 in the morning, and my day is booked. Like everything from, my calendar has a time in there that tells you what time I wake up. Like I obviously know when I wake up, but it's in my calendar because I just want everything designed. So typically, I would just end up sending my calendar. So no matter how you get at, whether you email me, DM me, odds are you're getting back to my calendar anyway. So easiest just to go to Leverage Virtual, cut out the middle part, and
get on a calendar.
And if they reference your your podcast, or they reference you, they will get a 10% discount as well for jumping in. So
awesome. That's
so when
great.
you get on the calendar, the calendar, it asks, if someone referred you, when you fill out the form. So you could just put in, either David Frost, put in, the Frost podcast. What was his name?
Frost Factor. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So as long as they reference any of that, and I know I could tie it back to you, they'll get a 10% discount.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We're going to have to talk. I'm thinking about, of course, Rainmaker University has affiliate links and things like that. I'd love to throw you up there.
Yes, we definitely talk about that. Yeah, because we've done stuff. So yeah, we can talk about that. Obviously, off there, and we go with that. Yeah, we do have some stuff set up with a few other of our kind of really like the VIPs, people who refer us all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah,
good.
Happy to go over that with you.
That sounds good. So, well, look, I appreciate you coming on. And is there anything else you want to tell everybody? Are you good or?
No, I think we covered just about everything. I appreciate you having me.
We did. Absolutely. Thank you for joining me. I don't want to keep you too long because I know you are busy. But I appreciate you, Brian. Tell Mary I said hi.
Will do.
And you guys have a great week, great weekend.
All right. Thanks a lot. You too, David.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Take care, man.
Bye.
All right, everybody. That wraps up the Frost Factor. Hopefully this episode, got you in tune with virtual assistants and how you can utilize them in your business. And I think they're outstanding. And I think if you're in business, you should really look at it to try to free up your time, especially you real estate agents out there. So take a look. If you got any questions, hit Brian up, Brian Murphy at leveragevirtual.com, or you can reach out to me. I can reach out to him, trying to link you guys up. So till next time, everybody, have a great day, great weekend coming up. All right.